श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We saw how this Sat, Chit, Ananda or Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam is a Mahavakya, first of all. Why? Because the word Jnanam brings in the conscious being, the awareful being, which is who? Oneself, me. And it also brings in the Ishvara with the position, the status of being the creator, sustainer, and resolver of the universe. So that word alone clinches it, that jnanam. And then we saw how the words Sat, Chit, Ananda or Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, they are not attributes of Brahman. They are also not words that mean Brahman. What are they? They are indicators of Brahman. Much like there is a sign that says restaurant and there is an arrow. So when you look at that sign, what do? Sit under the sign? No. Eat the sign? No. Follow, do what it says to do. Follow that sign. So Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are words that point to Brahman. The point, see, when I tell you look there, you don't have to look at the finger and do a PhD thesis on the finger. You actually look where it points to. And what is it pointing to? You, basically, because that to which it points is free of all upadhis. So, sarva upadhi pratyastamitam, where all the upadhis have set on the horizon of namarupas, and there is nothing to explain it, there is nothing to catch hold of it, it has no attribute, it has no name, it has no form, it has nothing. It is not available for any objectification. It is not available to be called out, it is free of name, it is free of everything. And that thing which is oneself alone, that has to be indicated through this very complex yet ingenious methodology. We have seen, even here just the word Sat is used, but it is bringing in all those things. So those are implied meanings of the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So that which is implied by that is oneself alone. Because you can't point to it directly, there is nothing to point to. That is outside of you. It is yourself alone. You cannot be objectified, and then you need not be objectified. The self need not be objectified. Why? Because it is you. It is self-evident I. The self-evident I need not be objectified. But it has to be indicated. It has to be indicated, and when the words Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are there, they refer to that which has no more, which is like the last frontier of duality, and there is nothing more there, nothing to understand outside of yourself, no description, no upadhi, no color, no name, no form. But yet it is known, yet it can be explained. In fact, Brahman is the only thing that can be explained completely. So many things are there that you think you can explain, but you can't. And people think the opposite. People think Brahman cannot be explained because it is not objectifiable, it is vague. But they forget, it is you. It's the self-evident, self-sufficient, self-luminous, self-referenced I, which is already evident to me. So the nature of this I can be easily made evident, because the whole Vedanta Shastra stands on the self being self-evident. If the self were not self-evident, we would have to close the shop. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. What is it to talk about? Because the self then becomes one more object. And what is the use of knowing one more object? And already all the objects that are there we cannot manage. We are afraid of them. And then one more object to be afraid of, to manage. One more object in the universe means one more headache to deal with. That's all it is. And so therefore, this self, which is self-luminous, self-evident, self-effulgent self, is a sitting duck for mistakes. Because, like the rope snake, it is partially known. It is somewhat known. Asti kinchit. Something is there lying on the grass. That much one knows. That's why the example is always set in twilight. If it was at 2 a.m., do you see the snake? No. For that matter, do you even see the rope? No. No rope, no snake in the middle of the night. Let's say it's 12 noon. Do you see the snake? No. Why? Because the rope is very much there. You don't commit a mistake. So the mistake is committed when? In this sandhi, in between. And similarly, the I is known because it is self-evident. It is very well known as I am. Don't ask me next thing. Who are you? What are you? That you don't ask. Why? Because I am, this self-evident I am goes and joins many other things which are not self-evident, by the way, but then it goes and joins so many attributes connected to the body, the mind and the senses because of the mistake. Anyatha jnanam. So, the agrahanam and anyatha grahanam talked about in the Mandukya Upanishad is very important here to know. Agrahanam is ajnanam, not knowing the truth of myself. Anyatha grahanam is therefore taking myself to be what I am not. So the Atma, this Sadatma, what does it become? It becomes sad Atma. That is why. Because of agrahanam and anyatha grahanam. This is what happens. What is it really? Sadatma. What do I think it is? Sad Atma. This is what happens. And so therefore, the Atma becomes the sitting duck for all kinds of mistakes centered on the self. I am, fill in the blanks, an idiot. This is Pujya Swamiji used to illustrate this very well. He used to say, go to a room full of men and say Rama. And then Rama is a very common name. Half the people will look up because there's all kinds of Ramas, including Shapad Rama. So, Foodie Rama, all kinds of Ramas are there. Sita Rama, Jaya Rama, and all these Ramas are there. So, half of the people will look up. Then you give a 5-minute break, go in the same room and say Krishna, and then there will be so many Krishnas. And then, because that's also a very common name. So many Krishnas are there, Krishna Murti, this, that, so many names are there. And then the other half will look up. Give a 10-minute break and say, go back there and say, idiot. And all of them will look up. So, Pujya Swamiji used to say this because to illustrate this very fact. And this is what the problem is. The problem is anyatha grahanam, or the wrong conclusion that is centered on this I. And to correct this conclusion and to show how indeed the I is not only connected to everything, is because of which I everything is there. That is the connection. The connection between the I and everything else, starting with these 3 elements, 5 elements, whatever we talk about, is not one of a connection between 2 equals. No. It is a satyam mithya connection. So the I inheres everything. And because of the presence of the I, the tejaha is what it is. Apaha are what they are. Annam is what it is. That which makes annam means Prithivi, we saw that. That which makes annam, tejaha, apaha is what? The presence of Sadatma. The presence of this Sat. How? Jivena Atmana. The Shruti need not have said Jivena Atmana, but specifically and repeatedly keep saying Jivena Atmana. The same Atma here means I. The same Atma that obtains as the Jiva. The same I that is the truth of the Jiva, the same Atma that is obtaining in this body-mind-sense complex as the individual Jiva, and in that form the whole all the elements are touched by this I. Touched? No, are filled up by this I. In fact, it's just this I that is there, and then so this is a very grand unfolding for which sometimes people may not be available to assimilate, and even on the level of the empirical reality of bodies, minds, etc., we see the connection. And very beautifully it was talked about, the connection. The connection between fire and water. So whenever there is santapa, tapa means like a heated up anguish, pain, sorrow, water flows through the eyes. And then whenever there is, and then again between the water and the earth, there is a connection. Whenever there is lots of water, what happens? The earth blossoms into plants, trees, etc. And so, even on that level, on the empirical level of the everyday, we find that everything is one. What to talk of the Paramarthikam Sat. So, this concludes, this is a very big section which we have just taken some threadbare segment and then tried to understand the whole thing. And then the next one, let us see where we are. Now, so then the next teaching, then we saw the first one example we saw of Shvetaketu made to fast for 15 days. A very interesting Vedanta demo. Fast for 15 days and then see what happens. The prana is hanging by one thread, one kala alone, and then after that he is asked to go eat, and then he is able to chant everything. He had even forgotten his own name. Shvetu, who is that? So from that he then was restored, his mind was restored. Why? After eating annam, why? Annamayam hi manaha. Apomayaf pranaha. Tejomayi vak iti. And so now there is another teaching with another example. Let us look at that. Bottom of page 9. Uddalako ha arunihi Shvetaketum putram uvacha Swapnantam me Somya Vijanihi iti Yatra etat purushaha Swapiti nama Sata somya Tada Sampanno bhavati Swamapito bhavati Tasmad Enam Swapititi Achakshate Swamhi Apito bhavati. Yeah, very interesting. So, Shvetaketum putram uvaja. So, Uddalakaha, who is Uddalaka? Teacher, who was father. Father turned teacher, Uddalakaha, who was also known as Arunihi, Swam Putram, to his son said. What did he say? Let us go further with this teaching. O Somya, O dear one, me means mama, mine. Okay, sixth case it would be, but that doesn't make sense. So we have to add me vachanat, from my words, from my teachings. Me upadeshat, something like that we have to add there. So me vachanat somya vijanihi. Please know this from my words. What is this? Let us know from, please know from my words, when the person, the Purusha simply here means person. When is the person with himself or herself? Totally with himself or herself. And then if the answer that you are thinking is after self-knowledge, then that would not be the correct answer, because every night when you sleep, what are you with? Yourself alone. And yourself as Sadatma. Waking state, sad Atma. Sleeping state, Sadatma. Yes. So you are one with Sat. And so you are completely one with Sat, because what is there? Is Nama Rupa there in sleep? No. Nama Rupa is not there in sleep, and then there is no differentiation in sleep. Body is not there in sleep. That's why even if somebody carried you out of one room and put you in the other room, many people will not even wake up. So body is not there. Is the mind there in sleep? No. Some people may say, what are you talking of in sleep? Even when I'm awake, it is not there. Yeah. The only thing you can say about the mind is what? Never mind. And so, but in sleep it is definitely not there. Definitely not there in sleep. Body is not there, mind is not there. Do you have any individuality? Do you have the thought, I am sleeping? That is also not there. So, swapiti means sleeps. And here the Shruti gives us a grammar lesson. A little grammar lesson by discussing the vyutpatti, the derivation of the word swapiti. He or she sleeps. Swam apito bhavati. Api plus itaha. In gatau, second conjugation. Itaha means gone. Api itaha means totally not there, absorbed. entered into what? Swam, into oneself. Entered into oneself means what? Sat. So Sata means in the form of Sat. Sata, third case. So in the form of Sat, entered into this place of no form, no name, and totally one with Sat, entered in the form of Sat into this state which is called the sleep state. And so he says, let us look at the verse, the mantra now. So Shvetaketum putram uvacha. He said to his son, Swapnantam me vachanat shrinu. Swapnantam means vijanihi. So please listen to me from my words about Swapnantam. Swapna means what? Dream. Anta means what? End. So here it's very interesting because in the Shastra this word is used, Swapnantam, but actually it means Swapna Madhyam. It means in the middle of the dream. Middle of the dream means in between two dreams. What is there? Are you in that condition now? Okay. What is there in between two dreams? Sleep. So Swapnantam, Swapna Madhyam, where is the convention for that? In the Kathopanishad also, same verse comes with the same understanding. Swapnantam Jagaritantam Chobhau ne yenanu pashyati Mahantam Vibhumatmanam Matva Dhiro na shochati. Kathopanishad. There also Swapnantam, Adi Shankara painstakingly writing the bhashya for that says Swapna Madhyam. There is a convention there. There is a custom there. And then here also we will look at the bhashya here, very beautiful for this particular mantra. There is a very nice bhashya. We will look at some highlights of it. Very, very nice. And so here he says that the phrase Swapnantam must be taken as Swapna Madhyam. And then why? He will give two reasons, but one of the reasons is this. In between one dream and the other dream, what happens is sleep, especially when you go to sleep. Yes, waking also can happen, but that's not what we are talking about. And the swapna usually, the other reason he gives in the bhashya is that the swapnavastha is seen as synonymous to sleep in many conditions. So swapnantam me shrinu means listen to this from me, me vachanat shrinu, listen to this word, listen to what? Listen to this whole thing called sleep, this condition called sleep. And why is this condition important for us as Vedantins? Two reasons. One is to see that moksha is not away. Every night there is moksha. That's why there is an eagerness to go to sleep and desire to keep on sleeping. The desire to wake up is not there. The eagerness to go on sleeping is there. Why? Because in sleep there is no credit card debt. There is no worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. There is no pain. There is no sorrow. There is only what? Ananda in sleep. The experience of sleep, therefore, is heavily cited by the Shastra to show that this is you. But the only thing is, we cannot say, I am mukta in sleep, because you are not there to say it. The mind is in a causal state. Ahankara is in a causal state. And the mind, buddhi, etc., which cognize the sleep state, only can cognize it in hindsight. After you wake up, you say, Sukhamaham aswapsam na kinchid avedisham. I slept very well, I did not know anything. But if I ask the question, are you asleep? If you are asleep, you will not be able to say yes. And so therefore the sleep state is heavily used in the Shastra to show one's true nature. One's true nature as what? Ananda, and unconnected to the world of names and forms, starting with one's own body, mind, sense complex. Unconnected to anything. Asanga, completely. And completely self-standing as what? Sat. So all that is there is Satyam, me, which is one with Ishvara, and then and the rest of it, the body, mind, sense complex, all that is there, but there is no connection in terms of awareness. That awareness is Shuddha Chaitanya, unconditioned by the awareness of the body, mind, sense complex and all the other problems thereof. And so therefore the sleep state is an important glimpse of what moksha is like. And therefore it is heavily used in the Shastra. And the second reason the sleep state comes into discussion is to understand the avasthatraya prakriya, the three states of existence. What are they? Sleep, sleep and sleep. No. What are they? Sleeping, waking, dreaming. This is to show that the same Purusha is inhabiting these various places, like even so many timeshares. You go there and you have bought a timeshare, and then you go there, you enjoy yourself, and then you make some new friends in Florida, you're enjoying on the beach, and what do they ask you? When did you move here? No. I'm from New York. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm not from here. Then you buy another timeshare. Where shall we go now? Colorado. So we'll go to Colorado and then go to Aspen and start skiing there. And then what? There also they will ask, when did you move? You're such nice people. Give me your address. No, I'm staying in Airbnb and I'm not from here. Where am I from? I'm from somewhere else. That is my home. And then again, somewhere else. One more timeshare we need. We can go to Arizona. We can go to the desert. And then we can keep looking at cacti. Big cactus is there. So then you go there. And then again they ask you, you are such nice neighbors, when did you move here? No, I'm not from here, I'm from Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is Turiya, okay? Yes, it's Turiya Sthaniya, that is Turiya. And then what is Florida? Waking state. What is Colorado? Sleep state. What is Arizona? Dream state. So this Turiya is not a separate fourth state. No, there is no separation. It's that same Atma. It is called Chaturiya because from the standpoint of our own ignorance. Because we see it as separate. But it's the same person. It's not like a different person is going to Colorado and a different person is buying a timeshare somewhere else. No, it's the same person. So the same person, Aham, Atma, Purusha, visits the waking state, has a cup of tea, goes to the sleep state, enjoys that, and then what else? Goes to the dream state, comes back again to the waking, dream and sleep states. And who is this Purusha? Who is this Turiya? Neither waker, nor dreamer, nor sleeper. This is the Purusha. And so this is, to understand this also, the sleep state and the other two states are brought about. But here, in the first discussion is the reason why it is brought about. The sleep state example is to show that one is completely with Ishvara, one is in the form of Ishvara. That's why it is a papa karma to wake up a sleeping person. You do not wake them up. And we see this from teachers also. Pujya Swamiji had a teacher who taught him Brahma Sutras, Swami Tarananda ji. And two students Swami Tarananda ji had, Pujya Swamiji and another Swami that used to walk about 2 kilometers to go to Kailas Ashram. 6:30 in the morning the class was, 6:30 to 8. So every day the classes were there. So Pujya Swamiji would go, and this other person also would go. As soon as Sahana Bhavatu mantra was, he thought it was a lullaby, and he would just sleep. And then, what is that? The Purnamadaha was his Suprabhatam. He would get up and then walk away, go home. And this one, the patient Swami Tarananda ji, for 18 months, did not say a word, did not say, what, this is an insult, did not say, I'm preparing for class and doing, and what is this? And finally, he was, after 18 months of just being very patient, and there was some very important and intricate discussion that came with lot of objections and everything, Purva Pakshas, Siddhantas, everything came, and then gently, and the man somehow woke up in the middle of this discussion, and Swami Taranandji simply said, ये सुनने की बात है, सोने की बात नहीं है. That's all. And the man got the point and stopped coming from the next day. After that, it was only Pujya Swamiji that was there. So, this is a matter to listen, not to sleep. That is what he said. Sunne ki baat hai, it's for Shravanam, not for Swapanam. And so therefore, then he only stopped coming. Then we see all these things from Mahatmas, we learn from Vriddha Vyavahara. And another friend of Pujya Swamiji, another Mahatma who was there, and then Pujya Swamiji, to his horror, saw that this Mahatma, full of arthritis, hands were bent like this, knees were bent like this, used to walk with a stick in Rishikesh cold early in the morning and go somewhere and get 2 cups of tea. He had one very nice, able-bodied Shishya living with him. Shishya was sleeping. Whenever you ask, Shishya was sleeping. When come Bhiksha, getting time from this place called Kali Kamliwala, there also you have to walk there and stand in line and everything. And again the elder Swami is bringing 2 dabbas of Bhiksha, one for him, one for the Shishya. Pujya Swamiji could not stand it any longer. He said, Maharaj ji, you have a student, you remember that, right? Yeah, I know. What is he doing? Where is he? He's sleeping. Whenever you ask, he's sleeping. Wake him up. No, he's good prarabdha. He's enjoying in the form of sleep. I won't wake him up. He is with Bhagavan. You see, that much value is given to the sleeping person, because the sleeping person is regarded as an incarnation of Bhagavan. Because they are one with Bhagavan, and who are we to disturb that oneness? Let them miss the train, doesn't matter. Let them miss the plane, doesn't matter. They are with who? Bhagavan. In fact, they are not just with Bhagavan, they are a form of Bhagavan. So therefore, because of verses like this, the sleeping person is never, ever disturbed. So he says, Swam apito bhavati, becomes full of himself or herself in a nice way, filled with oneself, one is. And then so, very beautiful, what is that? Very beautiful sentiment based on this. And then the Bhashya has a lot to say, and a very exemplary Bhashya with some very nice quotations from other Upanishads also. We'll be seeing portions of it. So he says, Swapnakhya tasya madhyam swapnantam sushuptam iti etat. He says, Swapnanta means what? After the dream ends, what happens? You go into deep sleep. So that is one interpretation he gives. The second interpretation he gives, he says, Athava Swapnantam Swapna Sattvam iti arthaha. Swapna satatvam. Swapna satatvam iti artha. So swapnantam, second meaning he gives, is that the truth, the content of the dream. What is the content of the dream? When does the dream come? Only when there has been sleep. So, satatvam means tatvena saha vartate, that which is alongside its truth. So, therefore, in either case, he says, so the artha is what? Sushuptam eva bhavati. Swam apito bhavati iti vachanat. Swam apito bhavati iti vachanat. And he says, nahi anyatra sushuptat swamapitim jivasya icchanti brahmavidah. So there is no condition other than deep sleep, which the Brahmavids, who are the Brahmavids? The knowers of Brahman, teachers of Brahman, they don't give this example. Other than deep sleep, there is no other example in which a human being is one with their own essence, which is Sat. No other state is there. No other example is there to give. And so, this is the only example that is given. And then he gives a very beautiful imagery. How is one with Bhagavan? How is one with Sat? So he says, just like the person is looking at a mirror. Then let's say the mirror is removed. Looking at the what? Looking at the reflection in the mirror. And the mirror, which is what? The reflecting medium is removed. What happens to the face? The face has gone with the mirror? No. The face, as it were, comes back and gets repatriated back to where it originally was. In the absence of the reflecting medium, the face has not, as it were, migrated to the face that had migrated to the mirror in the form of a reflection is repatriated back to itself, sans the mirror. No more mirror. Mirror gone. Face is or not? Yes. Why? Mirror, mithya, face, satyam. Relative to the example. Mirror is mithya, face is what? Satyam. And so therefore, the whole thing is just very beautiful here. So in the same way, what is the dashtanta here? What is it that is exemplified? That which is exemplified is as follows. The mind is like the mirror. Why is the mind like the mirror? Because it borrows the Satchidananda. It reflects the Satchidananda. So therefore, the mind, another name for the mind is what? Chidabhasa. Chit and then Chidabhasa. So the mind is seen as a reflection of this consciousness. Because it is made of the sattvic elements, 5 elements, it has the ability to borrow that Satchidananda and reflect that in the form of Chidabhasa. So what happens to the mind in the sleep? Like the mirror, it resolves. And then, what is there? Where is the abhasa? No more abhasa. In the absence of the mind which is mirror sthaniya, no more abhasa. No more abhasa at all. What is there? If chidabhasa is not there, what is there? Chit alone is. And so the person is one with Chit without any interlocutors, without any intermediaries in the form of the upadhi called the mind, buddhi, etc. So there is no reflected, so to speak, consciousness. There is only consciousness, the reflecting medium such as mana adini, all the indriyanis are in a state of repose. They are all one with Chit, one with Sat, and so all that is there is Sat alone. And then so what happens? So then, so mana adi uparame, when the mind, etc., get to say they desist from activity, there is a cessation of activity on part of the mind, etc., then what happens? This chaitanya pratibimba rupena jivena atmana manasi pravishta nama rupa vyakaranaya paradevatasa swatma eva atmanam pratipadyate jiva rupatam mana akhyam hitva. So even though in the chorus, in the refrain we saw jivena atmana, that was just to make us understand it's the atma that obtains as the jiva. But here what? The jivatvam has been removed from which? So jivatma means what? The atma obtaining in the jiva. Jiva means the complaining person. That's the only difference between jiva and Ishvara. What is the difference? Ishvara does not complain. That's all. So here, in deep sleep, so the jivatvam, the jivaness, the jivahood is what? Removed, as it were. Is just set aside, suspended for the time being. No more complaints, no more individuality, no more thinking that I am this, I have to have this, I have to. Before sleep, all the complaints are there. This bed is not nice, and this pillow is lumpy, and then somebody must have put one P in mattress number 7, and so I am feeling it. There is that story of some princess. And so all this complaint is when? Before going to sleep. The sleep is the greatest leveler. So the sleep of the king and the sleep of the commoner, one and the same. Commoner is sleeping on a bench in the park or on the railway station, and then the king is sleeping in a 4-poster canopy, bed. Sleep is the same. In sleep, the jiva has the jivaness, the jivahood, the jivatvam, which is an as though superimposition upon that sadakhya atma, upon that sadatma, is no longer in play. In sleep, the jaiva upadhi, the upadhi that is jivik in nature, has been suspended, taken away for the time being, and all. Then therefore we can say that the person is one with Sadakhya Devata, and in that form enters the 3 elements, and through the 3 elements populates this entire world of names and forms. And who is that? I. The I that is bereft of ahankara. The I that is bereft of all the individual characteristics that make one a jiva. Mind, ahankara, buddhi, identification, the tadatmya, sahaja tadatmya with a particular body, mind, sense complex. And then what else? The karmaja tadatmya, with a particular set of karmas. And then finally what? Bhrantija tadatmya, a delusion born of bhranti. A delusion called bhranti. So born of this delusion, what is there? Identification with a particular body, mind, sense complex. I am this much and no more. So all these identifications constitute jivatvam. Jivatvam means these 3-fold identification. First, a natural identification with this body, mind, sense complex, and then a karma-based identification. Why this particular body, whereas somebody else has that kind of a body? Why is one in a body of a female and another one in a body of a male? All these identifications with a particular set of karmas that have kick-started this whole life that has kick-started this upadhi into being, all that is no longer there. Of course, Bhranti is also suspended. Ignorance is there, no doubt. But the identification with that ignorance and the Anyatha Grahanam because of that ignorance is not there. There is no Grahanam at all in sleep. And there is only Agrahanam, there is no Anyatha Grahanam. So therefore, one is a Devata, one is Sat Devata, one is completely with Sat. Because there is no tadatmya with the individual body, mind, sense complex, and the three specific forms of identification, be the natural identification of the sukshma sharira with the sthula sharira called sahaja tadatmya, and the identification with one set of prarabdha karma called karmaja tadatmya, born of karma, and the tadatmya, the identification with the body, mind, sense complex because of delusion, because of wrong understanding. All of them have been suspended. And in their suspension, what has gone is jivatvam. In the wake of their suspension, jivatvam has been also suspended. This is what is jivatvam, jivaness. So no more jivaness, then what is there? Only Sat. And that conscious entity who is sleeping, who has entered the sleep state, is one with Sat. That conscious entity is Atma, I, and that conscious entity alone is the architect of what? The Tejaha, Up and Annadi. Tejo Bannadi. Later on it's going to be said. So this is the I that is bereft of my own upadhi, including agrahanam, anyatha grahanam, all these things. Nothing is there. All that is there is Sat alone. The upadhi-less I, from which the jivata, the jivatvam has been scrubbed off, and then that alone is naturally joined with Sat, and as the Sat Devata enters as itself, as this I alone enters into the what is called fire, water, earth. So therefore I can say I am in the form of fire, I am in the form of the waters, I am in the form of the earth. And from me all this has come. The Devi Suktam does that. The Devi Suktam says all these things. And very beautiful it is. And so, they see Jiva Rupatam Mana Akhyam Hitva. And then, so therefore, Sushuptaha Eva Swapnanta Shabda Vachyaha iti Avagamyate. And then, because he said, then he says, it cannot be the dream state. Swapnantam has to be taken as what? Sushupti only. It must not be taken as the dream state, because what is the dream state? The dream state is another avenue for the exhaustion of papa and punya. Punya and apunya. So the exhaustion of punya and apunya happens when you see a good dream, punya gets exhausted, or then when you have a nightmare, then some papa was there, that also gets exhausted, and then that is just and so this what happens because of this papa punya, and then the papa punya in turn, what do? They produce happiness and sorrow. So the other way around, sorrow and happiness they produce. Papa produces sorrow, and then punya produces what? Happiness. And then so and then all this is what? All this is sitting, papa, punya, etc. is sitting on what? On the foundation of ignorance and desires. And then so therefore swapna is related to the swapnavastha is another samsara chakra. It has all the accoutrements of samsara. It has the same loop as in the waking state. In the dream state also it is the same loop. What is the loop? Ajnanam first, and then kama, and then karma, karma phala, punarjanma, etc. Those are the accoutrements of samsara. And then in a macro way, they are also the same thing, keeps on looping itself. Where? In the dream as well. In the dream as well, it repeats itself. And so therefore it cannot be the dream. Because if the jiva who is dreaming is experiencing sukha dukkha, the jivatvam is there or not? Very much there. Atma does not experience sukha dukkha. Atma does not experience punya papa. Why? He gives a brilliant quote from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Ananvagatam punyena, Ananvagatam papena. So the one that is not at all connected, completely unconnected to papa, completely unconnected to punya. So this is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And then Tirno hitada sarvan shokan hridayasya bhavati, becomes completely free of all dukkha. This is the nature of the Atma, devoid of desire, free. And then one more quote from that same area, the mantra previous to that, Tadva asya etad atichandaha, completely free. Free of this whole host of ingredients that constitute samsara, birth and desire and all these things, fear, sorrow, happiness, alternating cycles of happiness, etc. And then he also, this is all from the Janaka Yagyavalkya dialogue, where Yagyavalkya is instructing Janaka. And then Eshaha Paramanandaha, he is told. This is alone, see, the Ananda that which is the nature of Sat, that Ananda cannot be out of the ken of human Ananda. Because if it is a special Ananda outside of what I know, then it will become finite. My Ananda, which I am familiar with, will be delimiting that Ananda which is Brahmananda. So that which is Brahmananda is within the ken of all the Anandas that I already experience. Then what is the difference? Because the Ananda that I experience is finite and elusive and object-based, whereas Brahmananda is inexhaustible and centered on I. When I don't know that this Ananda is centered on I think it is outsourced to the objects, and so therefore I look in the realm of objects looking for that Ananda of which I am already the possessor. So then this whole section concludes with another very nice quote in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Etadhi eva anandasya sarvani bhutani matrameva upajivanti. Just in small, tiny measure, the same Ananda, all the other laukikaha, people who don't know, all the sarvani bhutani, all beings, whether it's humans or animals, so they have a little bit, a little taste of this Ananda. Why? Because it's an Ananda that is punctuated by this Triputi. What is the Triputi? Object of happiness, and the experiencer of happiness, and the means of experiencing the happiness. Just like the earlier Triputi we talked about, Jnata, Jnanam, Jneyam. So, same Triputi comes here also, but there it was Karta, and now Jnana Karta. Here it is what? Ananda Bhuk, Ananda Bhokta. So the Ananda Bhokta also, Bhokta I, Bhogya, Bhogya Vastu, which I imbue with the Ananda, Bhogya Vastu, and that which connects me to the Bhogya Vastu, the means of experience, whether it's again through sight, sound, whatever it is, or a combination thereof. So every Ananda is contingent upon these three things. And these three things, if I don't know all of them is Atma, then the Ananda will also be, the experience of Ananda will be also what? Cut up into little pieces. And since it is cut up into little pieces, then the Ananda also is trickle experienced. But when I know that this Atma alone is manifest right now as the Bhokta, right now as the Bhogya Vastu, right now as that which connects the Bhokta to the Bhogya Vastu. What is that? Various means of experience. Then I know what is this I? Neither Bhokta, nor Bhogya, nor means of experience. It is all three, but not any one of them. And when this is known, there is no dukkha at all. And that can only be where? In the sleep state. It cannot be there in the dream state, because in the dream state there is a separate bhokta. The bhokta is separate from bhogya vastu. And that itself shows that even though here it's the word swapnantam is used, Adi Shankara makes a very strong case that it is not the sleep state. After giving all these quotations, ityadi shrutibhyah. What is understood? Sushuptaha eva swam devata rupam jivatva vinirmuktam darshayishyama iti aha swapnantam me mama nigadataha he somya vijanihi vispashtam avadharaya iti arthaha. So this is to show this alone, to show the nature of this Sat, which is obtained in the sleep state, where every person is one with Sat Devata. One attains the status of having no upadhi, and therefore having no sorrow, no upadhi, no identification with anything, and therefore no sorrow, no papa, no punya, all this. And to show that alone, Uddalaka cites this example. So therefore, what is it not? It is not the dream state. And then, when does this, then there is a little bit of a discussion. When does this sleep occur? When can you say the sleep occurs? And here is where the grammatical derivation comes. Yada yasmin kale. So what happens? Then the person is said to be sleeping. Swam apito bhavati swapiti iti loke. In the loke prasiddham. In the world, it is well known. Such and such a person sleeps. You see, English is a very boring language, because in Sanskritam we have the word itself has the meaning embedded in it. Here we don't have that. The word sleep and actual experience of sleep has nothing to do with one another. These are all arbitrary words. But in Sanskritam, every single word has its meaning embedded in it. And all this is discussed in the first thesaurus that was ever written, Yaska's Nirukta. And so in the Nirukta, it is all this is said. And so therefore, here the swapiti doesn't just mean sleeps. What does it mean? Becomes one with oneself. Becomes absorbed in oneself, enters into oneself. And all this is from the E to go. In Gatau, second conjugation. And so api is the suffix, api plus itaha, apitaha bhavati. Apitaha means having entered into, having merged with, having dissolved into. So, into what? Swam, into oneself. So, swam apito bhavati becomes the derivation of the word swapiti. So people say Swapiti, sleeps, but actually the truth of the sleep is entering into that self free of name and form, free of function, free of status of karta bhokta, free of status of knower, pramata, thinker, manta, dreamer, and all of that, all the ERs. And in fact, when you put this pratyaya, the agent pratyaya, the agent suffix, which in English is what? ER. In Sanskrit, the same agent suffix is TR, trich. So this ER, when you put, then you have the word sleep, sleeper, dream, dreamer, wake, waker, think, thinker, know, knower, experience, experiencer. So we dismiss this suffix because it's just a simple thing, ER. But that is the substantive. This is Vedantic language analysis. It is where the suffix becomes the substantive, because that is invariable in all these different changing things. A whole list of changes are mentioned. What are they? Sleeping, dreaming, eating, drinking, experiencing, doing, knowing. And then you put ER after all those states. The ER is constant. It is the ER that is the substantive, and all the others are what? Variable. They come and go. They are the various states. They come and go, and the agent is Atma. And what kind of an agent? An agent upon whom the agency is also superimposed. An agency-less agent, so to speak. So at the center is the Atma, the invariable presence, because of which there is sleeping, eating, drinking, because of which there is the agency called sleeping, sleeper, drinking, drinker, eating, eater, all these things are there. That which is free of all of them, that which are, without this presence of this ER, there is no agent. And the ER is free of agency. It lends agency, itself free of agent of whatever is described. The act of eating, drinking, etc. It is totally free of. And this is very nicely described in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Swapan, Swashan, Unmishan, Nimishan, etc. Navadvare pure dehi, naiva kurvan, nakarayan. So, the Atma is what? Is the indweller of the 9-gated citadel. And what does it do? Nothing. Even though it is eating, drinking, sleeping, appears to be doing all these things, it is free of action. It is in the presence of which actions take place, but it has nothing to do with actions. It just is the revealer of action, not the agent of action. It reveals the action. It's the invariable presence in all action. It supports, it lends its support to the status of actor without engaging in agency, without becoming the agent of action. And so, naiva kurvan, without doing anything, or karayan, because you can do something directly, or you can cause something to be done. Like the mafia don. He has found out that one of the henchmen is getting ready to leave, and he is afraid. He will go and tell the police or something like that. So he calls the hitman and just goes like this, looks at him and looks at and finished. And then you never see that person again, ever. And so therefore, that is also what? Karayatritvam. Kartritvam is the direct doing, but then causing somebody to do, that also the Atma doesn't do. And the only time that is possible is where? In the sleep state. In the sleep state, You have the Atma as it is. So even though the people say Swapiti, Loke Prasiddham as sleeping, but then Swapiti iti Uchyate Purushaha. So when the person is said to be sleeping, then a whole lot of things is happening inside. What is, the inner reality of this person is that one has attained the oneness with Sad Devata. One has, so to speak, attained means already was one with Sat, but here, bereft of the Upadhi, this is very, very clearly understood, clearly experienced as a place of no sorrow, no papa, no punya, no activity, no agency, and no victimization either. Because the other side of agency is feeling like a victim. So I am the doer, and then sooner or later I am done in by other people's doings. So then doer means what? Why is everybody talking about doer, and how it is not good? Doer means guilt. It's a recipe, prescription for guilt. Because sooner or later the question arises. What is the question? Kimaham sadhu na karavam. Kimaham papamakaravamiti. Iti. Why did I do the wrong thing? Why didn't I do the right thing? This is how it is. The lament. The lament is there. That lament is called guilt. And then if one is not a doer, then one becomes so. So doer means first case. And then done in means what? I am the karma, grammatical here, I am the object of other people's doings directed against me. That is a prescription for hurt, victimization. So either I am guilty or by my own doings, my own omissions and commissions, or I am hurt by other people's omissions and commissions directed towards me. And what is that? Why didn't they wish me? Why didn't they buy me a present? These are other people's not doings. Why didn't they do this for me? Why did they do this to me? All this is not there. All this is not there at all in sleep. This is completely bereft of agency. And then what happens there is that the inner mechanisms of which is very clearly described here is that one is one with Sat. One is all the time indistinguishable from Sat. All the time, even in the waking state, one is one with Sat. But here, the pesky upadhi and the so-called separating factors, the manaha, buddhi, etc., are set aside. They have been given pacifiers to just shut up for a while. They are not talking, they are not in the way. The mind is not a thought factory churning out thoughts and impressions and ideas. And so, in this, what is called the sleep state, what is happening is the oneness. And that oneness, which already one is, and here this is what is the paramarthikam sat. So one is from, what is that? From the vyavaharika, one is in paramarthika. So paramarthikam sat, one is one with it. And so therefore the attainment of oneself, one's own nature. So that is basically what Swapiti means. And then so therefore this is a wonderful, this is a very beautiful discussion here. And then let us go further. We'll come back to this a little later, because one more drishtanta is given to explain this. Sayatha shakunihi sutrena prabadhaha disham patitva anyatra ayatanam alabdhva bandhanameva upashrayate evameva khalu somya Tanmanaha Disham Disham Patitva Anyatra Ayatanam Alabdva Pranameva Upashrayate Pranabandhanam hi somya Manaha iti. Yeah. So the second part of this teaching is also very interesting and given with an intense example. I don't know where this example came from. Maybe this was the way they tried to keep pet birds or something like that. And then they would tie the leg of the bird to a rope. And then tie the rope to a post or something like that. So tie the rope to a post, so the bird would start flying and then soon reach the perimeter, the end of the rope. And maybe that's how the expression comes, I'm at the end of my rope. Maybe that's where the expression has come, a very sad example. So what would it do? It would just frantically fly. Disham, disham. And then it would fly, and then it would get tired, fall down, pick itself up again, and then flutter around, and then it doesn't know that this much only I can flutter around. It wonders, I'm used to soaring great heights. What happened to me? How come, I can only go this much? And keeps on, it goes here, it goes there, it goes everywhere. It just runs around in circles. And then finally what? It gets tired and gets to a place of accepting so to speak, it accepts the bondage and then just sits quietly, because what is the use? What is the use of fluttering around everywhere when nothing is going to happen? And then how is that going to take place? How is that going to happen? It's not going to happen. So therefore, this bird tied to a string with a leg goes everywhere and then finally takes refuge where? To the very pole to which it is fastened. It comes to the post or the pole where it is tied up and then goes to sleep, sits down. And in the same way, here, what is it told here? This one says, Uddalaka says, what does the mind do? The mind also goes from one direction to another direction, goes here, goes there, builds castles in the air, goes from one anguished thought to another anguished thought to the third anguished thought. Oh no, what happened? Oh no, how do I come here? How did I end up here? Oh no, what's happening now? All this it experiences and then comes to what? Prana. Comes to the prana and rests as it were, takes refuge in the prana. Why? Because the mind is prana connected, prana bound. That is why in meditation we say, what do we say? That if you are watching the breath, the mind quietens down. As you start watching the breath, what happens? The mind goes to a place of rest. The mind becomes tranquil even without trying. And you can do this wherever you are. You don't have to, buy correct kind of cushions and all these things. Nothing is needed. You don't need a Tibetan bell. You don't need a cushion for the bell. You don't need any of these accoutrements. Even sitting at the office, you just breathe deeply. So let's say some agitation happens, the mind is all over the place, some difficulties. You just breathe deeply, awarefully, mindfully, and then the mind comes to rest where? In the breath itself. So the mind becomes tranquil as soon as you breathe awarefully. The mind itself comes to a place of rest, comes to a place of tranquility. And so it goes all over the place, but then comes to a place of rest. And so similarly, even in the sleep state, the mind comes to a place of rest. And in fact, when it comes to a place of rest, what happens? The identification with it goes away. The identification with the prana also goes away. And then all that is there is Saddevata. All that is there is Saddevata. And then this particular refrain is going to be repeated again and again. What is there? What is that? Let us read. Saya esho anima aitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tvam asi shvetaketo. Yeah. So it is Saya Eshaha Anima. Anima means that which is the subtlest of all teachings. That self, the teaching centered on that self which is the subtlest of all, and then the self itself is the subtlest of all, and then the teaching about this self is also what? Anima, subtlest of all. And then what is it? It is Aitadatmyam. Etad atma iti. Etad atma, etad atmanah bhavah aitadatmyam. Very nice word. Aitadatmyam. This I-ness. Aitadatmyam. Etad atma. This atma alone is there, and this atma alone is there-ness. That, when you make it into abstract, is called Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. Idam sarvam, all that is there is this Atma alone. How do we know? We saw that. We saw very, very clearly, one by one, we saw how this Sad Devata is entering into all three of the elements. But then, and those are also not called elements. What are they? Devatas alone. They are also three Devatas. Imaha, Tisro Devataha. We saw that. And then, how did this Sat enter? In the form of I. What kind of a I? The I that is bereft of, devoid of Jivahood, individuality, just like how in sleep. Just like in sleep it is devoid of individuality, that I which rests as Sat, which is one with everything, in that form the Sat as I entered, as it were, into everything, into the whole world of names and forms, starting with these three Devatas, who then multiplied again and again. How? Bahusyam prajayeyam iti, saying like this, they went on multiplying, and then that the whole Jagat, therefore, is what? Is full of this I-ness, this Atma-ness. Nothing other than this Atma. So if you have to make this Atma into an abstract noun, what is it? This Atma-ness. Aitadatmyam. All that is there is this alone. This Atma-ness alone is there. Everything is the essence of this I, and this I alone. And why is it called Etat? Because it is understood as I. It is no longer Paroksha. What is it? Aparoksha. The word aparoksha is very, very beautiful. Aparoksha, na paroksha, aparoksha. In the beginning, there is only two opposite words. Pratyaksha, direct, that which is the object of direct perception. Paroksha, that which is remote. So can you say Atma is pratyaksha? No, because it is not an object of perception. Can you say it is far away, removed? No, because it is right here, obtains as I. So then what is this Atma? Neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. So we have to negate the word paroksha, aparoksha. So sakshat, aparokshat, brahma. Another Mahavakya from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Sakshat, aparokshat, brahma. That Atma which is Brahma, which is right here, right now, available. Aparoksha means never remote. Not an object of perception, but never away from me. So then this Atma, which is never away from me, is also never away from the Jagat. Because the whole Jagat is this Atma alone. And the this Atma-ness pervades all names and forms, because it pervaded the building blocks of these names and forms, which are the three elements here, the three devatas in the form of the three elements, and then everything then, where all the other names and forms have come from that. And the names and forms house what? They house this Atma alone. So the whole Jagat is nothing but this Atma-ness. So what is this Atma-ness? I-ness. I alone is there. Everything is an extension of this I. Everything in the Jagat is non-separate from this I. Everything in the Jagat is nothing but this I alone. I tadatmyam idagam sarvam. And then, having said that, Uddalaka also says that tat satyam, that satyam, that sat, tat sat, tat satyam, that satyam that we were talking about is what? Indeed, this Atma, this I, this I-ness that pervades everything is nothing but that Sat, which is indeed obtains as the truth of this body-mind-sense complex. It is I alone, this Sa Atma. And then, so therefore what? Tat Tvam Asi, Shvetaketu. Tat Sat Sa Atma Tvam Asi. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means what? That which is remote. Tvam is Prakritam, that which is under discussion, you. This you is never far away. This you means what? When Uddalaka says you, Shvetaketu has to take it how? I. Shvetaketu also must not say Tvam. Shvetaketu should say, take it as Aham. Aham. So this Aham is never far away from me. I know that this Aham is me, and this Aham is equated to what? That Sat. That Sat which is Devata, and that Sat which manifested and differentiated, as it were, into many, starting with entering the three Devatas in the form of the subtle fire, subtle air, and subtle water. Fire, not air. Fire, water, and subtle earth. And so therefore, even though it seems far away, that Sat is this Atma. Why? Because that Sat also has this Atma-ness. And the building blocks of the Jagat in the form of these three Devatas have this Atma-ness. Fire has this Atma-ness, water has this Atma-ness, earth has this Atma-ness. Everything is Aitadatmyam idam sarvam. Why do they have this Atma-ness? Because just like in the sleep example, when the Jiva-ness is as though separated from this person, and when the accoutrements of Jiva-hood, Jiva-ness are no longer in operation, then Swam apito bhavati, and that I alone is the truth of everything in this Jagat, and that I you are. Tat Sat Sa Atma Tvam Asi. So very clearly, the Tvam Pada, how it is resolved, was very nicely presented in this whole example of the sleeping person. The sleeping person, how the attributes of Jiva-ness are removed, like even even with the removal of the mirror and the reflection of the face, nothing happens to the face when the reflecting medium is removed. So similarly, nothing happens to the self when the reflecting medium in the form of the mind, etc., are removed. So then, when the Pratibimbita Chaitanya is not there, what is there? Chaitanya, which is not Pratibimbita, is alone there. Shuddha Chaitanya, which is not in any name or form alone, is there. And that is the essence of you. That is the essence of Sat. So from the Tvam Pada, all the reflecting medium in the form of Buddhi, mind, body, all this is shown as separate in the sleep by the analysis of the sleep experience. Is shown as separate. So there is nothing there that is, so you see how the oneness is talked about. The oneness cannot be directly talked about because of the upadhi. The upadhi becomes a separating factor between jiva and Ishvara. And so the upadhi here is suspended in sleep, and then what is the person? Swam apito bhavati, is naturally one with Sat. So that Sat is what? Is etad Atma, this Atma. And this Atmaness alone populates the entire universe of names and forms. Everything is this Atma, this Atma, this Atma. The whole Jagat has this Atmaness. And the whole Jagat has this Atmaness. I Atma, everything is I. And then, therefore, what is that? What is that Sat? That Sat is also I alone. Tat Sat Sa Atma. Sat is not separate from this Atma because everything is this Atma, and the Sat, we were told, entered into this Atma or entered in the form of this Atma alone, and so I tadatmyam idam sarvam tat Sat sa Atma Tvam Asi Shvetaketu. And Shvetu is very hooked now, and what does he say? Bhuya eva Bhagavan Vijñāpayatu. Please repeat this again. Please tell me this again. I really like this, but I know, but I don't know this fully. I have to understand. There are questions. Please repeat this again. And what does Uddalaka say? Tomorrow 8:30. Yeah, that's what he says. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.